The family group chat exploded with excitement as my sister Victoria posted photos of our grandfather's Hamptons estate, gleaming white against the azure Atlantic backdrop. 37 relatives were planning the annual summer gathering, a week-long celebration of wealth, success and family prominence that had defined our social calendar for decades. This year's theme is Achievement and Excellence, Victoria announced during our video call, her perfectly manicured nails catching sunlight from her Manhattan office. We're showcasing family members who've reached significant milestones. I sat in my modest Washington, D.C. apartment, wearing my standard government-issued navy blazer, listening to the planning session with familiar resignation. My cousin Marcus, who'd recently made partner at his law firm, would be presenting his corporate victories. My brother-in-law James would discuss his medical practice expansion. Even my teenage nephew was celebrated for his acceptance to Princeton. Sarah. Victoria's voice carried its usual edge of disappointment. We've decided that this year's gathering should focus on substantive achievements. Your government position doesn't really fit the successful family narrative we're building. The words stung but didn't surprise me. For 8 years, my family had treated my career as an embarrassment. A talented woman who'd chosen the easy path of civil service over real accomplishment. They had no idea that my government position was Deputy Ambassador for Economic Affairs, requiring Senate confirmation and security clearances that took 3 years to obtain. The Hamptons house represents family prestige, added Uncle Robert, who'd inherited grandfather's construction empire. We need guests who reflect our business success and social standing. Marcus nodded approvingly through the video call. My law firm colleagues will be attending, plus several corporate clients. Sarah's presence might raise questions about our family's professional standards. What they didn't know was that my modest government job involved hosting foreign dignitaries, negotiating international trade agreements, and managing diplomatic relationships that influenced global markets. The professional standards they worried about were laughable compared to the protocols I navigated daily. Maybe next year, Victoria said with false sympathy, when Sarah's career situation becomes more substantial. I checked my secure phone discreetly as an encrypted message appeared. Ambassador requests immediate consultation on diplomatic summer residence. Foreign Minister's delegation requires Hampton area accommodation for emergency trade negotiations. The irony was perfect. While my family planned their exclusive celebration of achievement, I was being asked to open my classified diplomatic residence, a 40-acre estate in the Hamptons that made grandfather's house look modest by comparison. I understand your position, I replied diplomatically. I hope you have a wonderful celebration of family success. As I ended the call, I smiled at the knowledge that their successful gathering was about to be overshadowed by actual diplomatic importance. The next morning brought urgent briefings about an international trade crisis requiring immediate diplomatic intervention. The German foreign minister's emergency visit to negotiate automotive tariff agreements needed secure accommodation outside Washington's political spotlight. Ambassador Chin, I addressed my supervisor during the classified video conference. The Hampton diplomatic residence would provide perfect security and discretion for these negotiations. The 40-acre compound, officially designated as Diplomatic Residence Hampton 7, had been acquired by the State Department 5 years ago for exactly these situations. My role as resident deputy ambassador meant managing high-level foreign delegations while maintaining operational security. Approved, Ambassador Chen replied. Full diplomatic protocols authorized. This negotiation could prevent a trade war affecting millions of American jobs. Victoria's family gathering was scheduled for the same weekend, but that coincidence wasn't my concern. My diplomatic responsibilities took precedence over family social events, especially when I'd been excluded for low achievement. Wednesday's intelligence briefing revealed the scope of international attention these negotiations would attract. German delegation, EU trade representatives, congressional leadership and international media would descend on the Hamptons for weekend talks that could reshape global automotive trade. The security perimeter includes all properties within 2 miles, explained Special Agent Rodriguez, who'd arrived to coordinate diplomatic protection. We'll need to restrict civilian access to protect negotiation confidentiality. I realized that grandfather's house, where my family was planning their celebration of success, fell within the restricted security zone. Their yacht party would be cancelled by federal mandate to protect international trade negotiations they didn't even know were happening. Thursday brought the first signs of family confusion. Victoria called, frustrated by unexpected obstacles to their party planning. "Sarah, something strange is happening in the Hamptons. The Harbor Authority cancelled our yacht permits, saying there's a federal security event this weekend. Do you know anything about government activities that might affect our gathering?" I maintained careful diplomatic neutrality. Federal activities often require temporary adjustments to local events. "This is outrageous," Victoria continued. "We've been planning this celebration for months. Grandfather's house has historical significance in the Hamptons social scene." What she didn't understand was that diplomatic negotiations took precedence over social events, regardless of family historical significance or social standing. Friday's final preparations included establishing secure communication networks, diplomatic transportation coordination, and international media management. The compound's transformation into a temporary embassy showcased resources that dwarfed anything my family could imagine. Deputy Ambassador Richardson, Agent Rodriguez updated me. The German delegation lands at 1,400 hours. Media describes this as the most significant trade negotiation in recent diplomatic history. Through the compound's security monitors, I could see my family's beach house in the distance, within the restricted zone that would prevent their achievement and excellence celebration from proceeding as planned. Their exclusive gathering was about to be cancelled by actual international importance. Saturday morning, Victoria called in complete panic as federal agents established security perimeters around the family's Hamptons estate. "Sarah, there are government vehicles everywhere. They're saying our house is in some kind of diplomatic security zone. They won't let anyone access the property." I watched from my diplomatic residence's command center as Secret Service agents coordinated with State Department security to protect the German delegation's arrival. The compound's main house, a stunning 15,000-square-foot mansion with private beach access, was now serving as a temporary embassy for international trade negotiations. "Ma'am," Special Agent Rodriguez addressed me with standard diplomatic protocol. "The foreign minister's motorcade is approaching. Should we maintain visual security of the civilian property?" "Standard protocols apply," I confirmed, watching my family's confusion through security monitors. Victoria's voice cracked through the phone. "They're saying there's a high-level diplomatic event happening. Sarah, you work for the government. Can you find out what's going on?" Before I could respond, the German delegation's motorcade swept past grandfather's house toward my residence. Ambassador Chin emerged from the lead vehicle, followed by Foreign Minister Klaus Weber and a delegation of EU trade officials whose presence could reshape global economics. Deputy Ambassador Richardson, Ambassador Chin approached with formal diplomatic bearing. "The Foreign Minister commends your facility preparation. This residence provides optimal security for sensitive negotiations." Through my phone, I could hear Victoria's shocked silence as she witnessed the diplomatic motorcade and realized the scale of international importance happening in her vicinity. "Sarah," she whispered, "are you involved in whatever's happening over there?" "I'm hosting German Foreign Minister Weber for emergency trade negotiations," I replied simply. "My diplomatic residence is serving as the primary venue for talks that could prevent international trade war." The silence on the phone was deafening. "You're diplomatic. What?" Victoria's voice came out as barely a croak. "The 40-acre diplomatic compound where I live and work as Deputy Ambassador for Economic Affairs," I explained, watching Foreign Minister Weber enter my residence's main conference hall. "The negotiations taking place here this weekend will influence global automotive trade affecting millions of jobs." From my position coordinating international diplomacy, I could see my family's prestigious beach house reduced to a tiny speck within the massive security perimeter protecting actual international importance. Their celebration of achievement had been cancelled by real diplomatic work. Sunday evening, as the German delegation departed after successful trade negotiations, Victoria called one final time. The international media coverage had made clear exactly whose residence had hosted talks that prevented a global trade war. "Sarah," her voice carried a mixture of awe and horror, "the news is calling you Deputy Ambassador Richardson. They're saying you live in a 40-acre diplomatic estate that makes our family house look like a cottage." Diplomatic residences are designed for international hosting capabilities, I replied professionally, watching the security perimeter being lifted from around grandfather's property. The reporter said you've been negotiating trade agreements that affect millions of jobs. Your work actually matters on a global scale. Marcus had already called to apologize, followed by Uncle Robert and eventually the entire family who'd dismissed my low-achievement government career. We had no idea, Victoria continued. All this time we thought you were unsuccessful, but you've been working at levels we never imagined. Achievement takes many forms, I said gently. Sometimes the most important work happens behind diplomatic security. Their Hamptons celebration had been cancelled by my actual international responsibilities. Sometimes the family disappointment turned out to be the one serving global interests while they'd been planning social gatherings.